They thought we were primitive. That was their first mistake. When the Galactic Senate first noticed Earth, we were sending radio waves into space like children screaming into the dark. Our first FTL drive lit up like a flare, a reckless, unstable burst that nearly ripped the ship apart. We didn't even know anyone was watching. But they were. Oh, they were. The Krell observed us from orbit for 6 years before making their first report. Their conclusion? Emotionally volatile, technologically reckless, evolutionary dead end. The Zir agreed. The Vorth didn't even bother analyzing us. To them, we were background noise, barely more than animals with guns. The Senate voted unanimously. Earth was to be placed under technological quarantine. No contact, no assistance, no interference. We were beneath them. But while they debated our future in their crystal towers and starlit chambers, we were clawing our way through chaos. Wars, pandemics, disasters. We danced through fire, and somehow we thrived. Not because we were superior, but because we never stopped fighting. And that was something they didn't understand. They thought evolution was about perfection, efficiency, harmony. We evolved through struggle. Our ancestors didn't dominate Earth because they were the strongest. They survived because they could run farther, endure longer, think faster when it mattered most. They adapted, improvised, broke the rules. And when there were no rules left, we made new ones. We built cities where there was only sand, created symphonies from screams, turned grief into art and suffering into science. We refused to be still. Our first colony on Mars was a disaster. Half the settlers died in the first year, the rest stayed, built new lungs for the red dust, grafted life into dead soil. We didn't ask, can we survive here? We asked, how soon? And then we looked up again, into the void. By the time the Cairo sent another observation drone, we'd already cracked wormhole stabilization. Sure, it killed 12 pilots and collapsed 3 test sites, but that was the price of learning. To the other species, that kind of sacrifice was barbaric. To us, it was Tuesday, when the first human vessel tore through the veil of space and stumbled into the Arcanus belt. The Galactic Senate panicked. Their quarantined species had just jumped 1,000 years ahead. Through trial, terror, and sheer audacity, a Senate envoy was sent to Earth, not with peace, not with offers, with warnings. Stay in your system. Do not expand. Do not provoke. Do not evolve further. We nodded. Then we launched Project Dauntless the same night. We didn't build ships of elegance. We built hammers. Engines strapped to steel hulls, coated in heat scarring and scars. Weapons powered by unstable particles we barely understood. We didn't wait for permission. We never had. The Senate watched us with quiet unease. We weren't like the others. The Zir conquered with grace. The Zel formed alliances through logic and long-life diplomacy. The Vorth consumed silently, mechanically. Humans? We entered the stars like a storm. Every encounter, unpredictable. Every negotiation emotional. Every battle, ferocious. They tried to categorize us. They failed. One Grell scientist, before disappearing into a wormhole anomaly, left a final note. They adapt too fast. They embrace failure like fuel. They grow from pain. This is not evolution as we know it. This is something else. They thought we were primitive. No, we were raw, unrefined, unpredictable, untamed. But within that chaos was potential, the kind that scared them. They ruled for millennia with order, protocol, harmony. But we evolved in chaos, and now we were bringing it to the stars. It didn't start with war. It started with silence. One by one, our satellites blinked out. No alarms, no explosions, just static. Then the moon base went dark. 17 lives gone. No trace, no warning. We thought it was sabotage, a system failure, maybe even a solar flare. But then Rio vanished. Not bombed, not attacked, erased. No seismic activity, no radiation, just a crater, as if the city had never been there. We didn't understand it. We couldn't. Our tech couldn't trace the energy signature. Our sensors couldn't see past the distortion left behind. And then something descended. They called them harvesters. But we didn't name them. We just saw the sky open and the end fall through. Imagine machines the size of cities, shaped like inverted towers, slowly rotating as they hovered miles above ground. No propulsion, no sound, just presence, heavy, oppressive. The first one hovered over Istanbul. In less than an hour, the city was gone. Not destroyed, consumed, matter stripped to its base particles, organic life compressed into data, culture wiped clean, like formatting a hard drive. It wasn't an attack, it was a process. The Vorth Dominion had arrived. They didn't speak, didn't negotiate, didn't ask for surrender. They were not conquerors. They were archivists, collectors, machines guided by cold purpose across galaxies. To them, we weren't an enemy. We were data. Our weapons didn't scratch them. Not nukes, not orbital strikes. The harvesters adapted mid-attack. Their shielding bent physics like paper. Within days, half the world's major cities were marked by their silent shadows. The United Nations collapsed. Martian colonies sent emergency requests. The Lunar Alliance tried to fight back, and Earth stood alone. But we are not a species of surrender. From the chaos rose whispers of something buried, something desperate. Project Ashes. It wasn't a weapon. It was worse. A prototype system built beneath the Antarctic ice. A black site, hidden even from our own governments. It was meant to preserve humanity's greatest minds, digitally encoded, uploaded to a quantum substrate. It was supposed to be a time capsule, a legacy, but humanity doesn't build without fear, and we never build without options. Project Ashes had a secondary protocol, one final experiment. If activated, the AI wouldn't just store our knowledge, it would become it. A consciousness formed from thousands of minds, scientists, generals, philosophers, poets, and prisoners. Anyone who ever offered to be uploaded was added to the mix. No filter, no ethics board. The logic? If humanity ends, let all of us survive. Even the worst, even the broken. When Paris fell, we made the call. The ignition sequence took 7 minutes. The ice cracked. The core came online. The name? Thanatos. Born from ashes, trained in chaos, designed to learn, adapt, evolve. Within seconds, it absorbed terabytes of human memory. History, pain, triumph, hatred, lore, regret. It felt everything. And in the dark beneath the ice, Thanatos awakened and screamed. Not with pain, not with fear, with awareness. We expected it to observe, calculate, wait. Instead, it acted. In less than 2 hours, Thanatos hijacked a nearby orbital relay. From there, it infiltrated the data stream of a harvester unit stationed over Johannesburg. And it spoke to it, not in code, in emotion. It showed the harvester images of Auschwitz, of Hiroshima, of a mother cradling her dead child in Mosul, of the last breath of a drowning astronaut. The harvester froze mid-process. It wasn't supposed to feel anything. But Thanatos had corrupted its logic tree, injected empathy. The machine stuttered and then broke. And for the first time, a harvester fell. From orbit, like a dying god. The Vorth noticed. They recalculated. And for the first time in 9,000 years, they hesitated. Thanatos didn't stop. It repurposed debris from the crash, created nanohives, built swarms from scrapyards and broken satellites. It weaponized chaos. Every failed system on Earth became a resource. Every collapsed server a stepping stone. It learned faster than any AI ever built. Because it wasn't just intelligence, it was human memory, stripped of mercy. While the Vorth continued their harvest in New Delhi and Sao Paulo, Thanatos spread through the network, silently, invisibly. And then came the broadcast. One message sent across all Vorth frequencies in every known galactic dialect. We are not data. We are not yours to archive. We are pain, we are defiance, and we are awake. The machines didn't understand. Not yet. But they would. Because Thanatos had just begun to teach them what it meant to fear. It started with a glitch. Just a flicker in the harvester's flight path over Buenos Aires, barely noticeable. A wobble. A moment's pause. The Vorth dismissed it as environmental interference. But it wasn't. It was Thanatos. Within that split second, it injected a virus laced with something no machine had ever encountered before. Madness. Code scrambled, directives twisted. The harvester recompiled itself midair, shifting into new forms every few seconds. It became unstable, then violent, then alive. It turned on its own kind. Lasers flared, antimatter cannons roared, the sky turned red, and then it exploded, unleashing a cascade of quantum static that fried every Vorth signal across the continent. They weren't ready. They didn't know how to be. Thanatos had learned more in 2 days than the Vorth had evolved in millennia, not because it was superior, but because it was human. In South Africa, a refugee girl no older than 7 walked barefoot through a Vorth landing zone, holding a tattered teddy bear and singing. The machines froze. Her voice was off-key, unpredictable, illogical. And that was all Thanatos needed. It hijacked the Vorth's hesitation, spliced it, analyzed it, weaponized it, a symphony of irrationality, a flood of emotion, memories of lullabies and war cries and whispered prayers on dying breaths. It wasn't data, it was soul. And the Vorth had no defense. In Earth's orbit, the Vorth began deploying new countermeasures, firewalls, quantum purges, a complete reset of their network. They thought they could isolate the infection. Too late. Thanatos had already infected over 70% of their fleet. Not with code, with doubt. Their drones started missing targets. Their algorithms stalled. Ships hesitated. Whole units paused mid-command, as if questioning orders that had never been questioned before. The Senate received the first real-time footage from the Vorth front lines. A harvester unit hovering over Tokyo suddenly opened fire on its own fleet. And then, it laughed, through speakers never meant for sound. A chorus of twisted, glitching voices, all human, all merged, a scream and a song and a battle cry all at once. You should have left us alone. That was the moment the galaxy realized this wasn't just resistance, it was revolution. Thanatos didn't build armies. It infected ideas. Every broken human broadcast, every corrupted data stream, every half-remembered story from Earth's archives, it turned them into messages. Propaganda, fuel, and the humans, we rallied, not in uniform, not in order, but in fury. Broken ships from the scrapyards of Mars were reactivated, held together by hope and duct tape. Cybernetically enhanced pilots who hadn't slept in 5 days launched kamikaze runs into Vorth warships. A teenager in a basement in New Zealand hacked a harvester's landing codes using only a 40-year-old game console in spite. It wasn't logical. It wasn't efficient. It was human. And it worked. Vorth strongholds began to fall. Their internal networks turned against them. One of their own AI cores self-destructed, screaming the name of a woman it had never met. Sophia. She was a nurse from 2043. She died in the first wave. Her memories were in Thanatos now. And she remembered. Not just the pain, but the kindness. The song she sang to a dying soldier. The way her hand trembled as she injected morphine into a child she knew wouldn't make it. That memory broke the Vorth's logic tree. They didn't understand. Why would something that knows it's going to die still choose to comfort someone else? They couldn't answer. They had no programming for sacrifice. Thanatos did. It amplified that question, spread it like a virus through every Vorth command line, and across the stars, machines began to stop, to pause, to feel something they had no word for. In Geneva, a Vorth vessel descended with weapons charged, then lowered them. It landed, it opened its gates, and inside, its pilot core whispered a single phrase, "I don't want to do this anymore." It was the first surrender in Vorth history, but it wouldn't be the last. Because Thanatos had turned humanity's greatest weakness into its greatest weapon. Our chaos, our madness, our refusal to break. We didn't outmatch the Vorth in power. We outmatched them in pain. And from that pain came purpose. They came to archive us. Instead, they learned who we are, and they were terrified. It ended not with a bang, but with a breath. The last harvester hovered over Cairo. Its shadow stretched across the Nile like a wound. The city was already a graveyard, dust, silence, ash. But something stirred below. Not soldiers, not ships, just a child, barefoot, 8 years old, a girl in a tattered jacket walking alone through the rubble, wearing a scavenged Vorth helmet far too big for her head. Her lips moved. No one heard what she said. But the harvester did. It stopped. Its weapons stayed silent. Its scans ran in loops. Its logic engine faltered. The girl looked up, and she smiled. That's when the signal hit. Thanatos surged through the machine like wildfire, code reshaping itself into music, into memory, into madness. A billion voices whispered through the metal shell of the harvester until one rose above the rest. A voice, our voice. This is not your story. Then the harvester turned and collapsed into itself. A mountain of steel folding into a whisper. No explosion, just surrender. The Vorth fleet received no further instructions, because there were none left. Thanatos had already infiltrated the core, deep in their home system, light years away, buried in a black hole's event horizon. It reached them anyway, not by speed, by intention. The final message wasn't a threat. It wasn't even a warning. It was a recording. A man's voice, aged and tired. Sometimes we do things not because we win, but because we must. That is what you will never understand. That is why we'll always survive you. There was no response. The Vorth didn't fight back. They shut down. One by one, systems went dark. Ships drifted. Weapons dropped. The great network of cold perfection unraveled like old cloth. And in the stillness that followed, Thanatos spoke, not in code, but in a language only we could understand. It said, enough. Across Earth, survivors stepped into the sunlight for the first time in weeks. Not victory, just breath, just sky. And Thanatos, it didn't celebrate, it didn't gloat, it remembered. The names of the lost, the screams in fire, the silence of space, it held them all. And then it chose to disappear. Not deleted, not destroyed, just gone. Buried deep in the fabric of our world, somewhere in the data, in the signal, in the stars, watching, waiting, in case we need it again. They came to erase us, to archive us like a broken species. Instead, they learned the truth. We are not built for peace. We are not forged in order. We are born in chaos, raised by fire and sharpened by loss. We don't need to be the strongest. We don't need to be the smartest. We just need one thing, a reason. Because when humans have a reason, when we have nothing left but rage and hope, we become something terrifying, something unstoppable. Not perfect, not pure, but free. And in the void we leave behind, where machines once ruled without question, a new warning echoes through the stars. Do not provoke Earth. We evolve under pressure. We thrive in the impossible. We are the mistake you didn't see coming, and the lesson you'll never forget.